Hey everyone, welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and I'm here with our expert to unpack something that's honestly a little dangerous.
Yeah, dangerous is definitely the right word. Hi, everyone.
So I want you to try a thought experiment with me. Stay with me here because
It gets weird pretty
it
fast.
really does. Imagine you could summon a super intelligence, not a magic genie or a fortune teller, but a purely logical digital entity, a mind that runs on just raw calculation, totally untethered by feelings or, social
But
niceties.
kind of like Spock, but with the processing power of a galaxy-sized computer.
Exactly. And you get to ask this entity the one question that has tormented philosophers, priests, and, well, stoned college students for 2,000 years. Do I actually have free will?
The ultimate question. I mean, the one that decides if we are the captains of our souls or just biological puppets.
But, and here's the catch, you give this intelligence a very strict rule. You tell it, I don't want the polite answer. I don't want the answer that keeps society functioning or makes me feel good. Ignore everything humans have agreed upon and just give me the cold, hard science.
It's the ultimate be careful what you wish for scenario.
Yeah.
Because if you strip away the human need for comfort, the answer you get is, uh, well, let's just say it's not exactly a Hallmark car.
No, it is not. And that is the source we are covering today. It's titled The Algorithmic Illusion of Human Agency. It's essentially a transcript of this brutal, fascinating experiment where an author forces Gemini 3.1 Pro, which is a very high-level AI, to answer the free will question using only materialist logic.
And the result is so fascinating because it's incredibly clinical. We're watching a non-human intelligence surgically deconstruct the very thing that makes us feel human, our ability to choose. It doesn't hate us, it just analyzes us.
It feels a bit like science fiction, like that moment in 2001, A Space Odyssey, where HAL 9000 calmly explains to the crew why they aren't actually necessary. It's rational, it's calm, and it completely undermines your existence.
It feels exactly like that. The source material outlines three distinct ways the AI dismantles free will: physics, neuroscience, and logic. It's like a three-pronged attack on your ego.
Right. But before we get into the attacks themselves, let's talk about the setup. Because the prompt the author used wasn't just, hey, do we have free will? It was much more specific. Why did the author have to be so careful with the instructions?
Well, think about how these AI models are built. They're trained on everything humans have ever written. And usually, they are trained to be helpful, harmless, and honest. They are explicitly fine-tuned to align with human consensus.
So if I just ask a standard AI about free will, it's going to try to make me feel better.
It'll play it safe.
Yeah.
It'll give you the balanced answer. It'll say something like, well, it's complicated, philosophers disagree, and believing in free will is important for mental health. It hedges.
Right, because nobody wants an AI telling them life is meaningless over their morning coffee.
Exactly. But this author specifically prompted the AI to, quote, take off the kid gloves. The instruction was, I do not want you to rely on human consensus. I want you to rely completely on logic and science. The goal was to bypass what philosophers call compatibilism, or, as the author puts it, sophist redefinitions.
Sophist redefinitions. That sounds like an insult. What does the author actually mean by that?
It kind of is an insult, honestly. In philosophy, a lot of thinkers realize that the laws of physics make free will look pretty much impossible. So, to save the concept, they just change the definition. They'll say, okay, maybe you can't control your neurons, but you can do what you want to do, so we'll call that free will.
I see. So they just lower the bar.
They move the goalposts entirely. The author argues that this is dodging the question. It's just wordplay. The prompt forced the AI to look at the hard physics, the actual mechanics of the universe, without trying to save the concept just to be nice to us.
And the author actually grades the AI on its performance, right? Like a teacher grading a term paper.
They do. Based on the response, the author estimates Gemini's IQ at around 140, maybe 150. That's solid gifted territory. It's smarter than 99% of the population. The AI didn't flinch. It went straight for the logical throat.
But the author didn't give it a perfect score. They made a comparison to Isaac Newton, which seems like a really high bar to clear.
A massively high bar.
Yeah.
And this is a really subtle, interesting point in the text. The author estimates Newton's IQ at 190, like true, historically rare genius. And they argue Gemini fell short of that because it still allowed for randomness.
Randomness, like rolling dice. Why is allowing for randomness a sign of lower intelligence?
This is where the author's own worldview heavily comes in. The AI suggested that because of quantum mechanics, the universe has some randomness built into it. It's stochastic, meaning some things just happen without a clear cause. But the author argues that a true superintelligence, a Newton-level mind, would see through that. The author believes that random is just a word humans use for causes we don't understand yet.
Oh, I get it. So if I roll a die, I think it's random because my brain can't calculate the wind speed, the friction of the table, the exact angle of my hand, but a supercomputer could calculate all of it.
Precisely. The author's stance is that if you had enough data, nothing would be a surprise. There is no such thing as true randomness. The AI basically got a B+ because it fell for the randomness trap, whereas a smarter entity would see the hidden gears turning behind everything.
Man, that is a heavy concept. So we have a hyperlogical AI and a rigorous human author, both completely ready to tear down our sense of agency. Let's look at the first argument the AI presents. It starts with physics.
This is what it calls the deterministic chain. It's really the foundation of the whole argument.
The source mentions an equation here, S sub t. It looks like math, but walk me through it in plain English so we can all picture it.
It's actually very straightforward. S
Huh?
sub t stands for the state of the universe at time t.
And by state, we mean what exactly?
Everything. Literally everything. The position of every single atom in a star billions of light years away, every photon of light hitting your retina right now, and the electrical charge of every neurotransmitter in your brain. That massive, incomprehensible collection of data is S sub t.
Okay, so S sub t is just a snapshot of total reality right this second.
Right. Now, the AI posits that the state of the universe at the very next moment, let's call it time t plus 1, is purely a mathematical result of the current state, S sub t, plus the laws of physics.
So current state plus laws of physics equals future state.
Correct. And if that equation is true, there is no variable in there for you. There is no current state plus physics plus Steve's opinion equals the future.
Ouch. Because Steve is just part of the current state.
Exactly. You are made of matter. Your brain is a physical object. If the universe is just a machine that moves from one state to the next based on rigid, unbreakable laws, then your brain is just a gear in that machine. The AI concludes that every thought you have, every time you decide to pick up a coffee mug, is the only possible physical outcome of the moment that came before it.
That makes the universe sound like a wind-up clock. Once you wind it up, it just ticks. It can't suddenly decide to tick differently.
That's the clockwork universe theory. Classical physics. The AI uses a really haunting phrase here. It says, will is simply the conscious observation of a predetermined chemical reaction.
Conscious observation. So I'm not the driver of the car, I'm just watching the dashboard.
That is a perfect segue to the second argument, because the AI moves from physics, which says you physically can't choose, to neuroscience, which says you biologically don't choose.
This is where we get into the biology of the brain. The source brings up something called the gap. Now, I've heard rumors about this, stuff about brain scans knowing what you're going to do before you even do it. Is that what this is?
That is exactly what this is. The gap refers to the literal time delay between your brain acting and your conscious mind knowing about it. This is based on famous experiments by Benjamin Libet back in the 1980s, and they've been replicated many times since with much better technology.
Walk us through it. What actually happens in the experiment?
They hook people up to brain scanners, that's EEGs or fMRIs, and they give them a simple instruction. Flick your wrist whenever you feel like it. Just watch this highly precise clock and tell us exactly when you decided to move.
Sounds simple enough.
You'd think so. But the results were deeply disturbing. The scanners showed that the motor cortex, the part of the brain that handles physical movement, fired up and initiated the wrist flick several hundred milliseconds, sometimes even a full second, before the person consciously thought, I'm going to move my hand.
Wait, let me make sure I have this right. The brain decides to move. Then time passes. And then I think I decided to move.
Yes. The actual decision is a physical, subconscious event that happens way before the feeling of the decision.
That feels entirely backwards. It's like the thunder happening before the lightning. It implies that my conscious mind is literally the last one to know what my body is doing.
The AI argues that the conscious mind, that little voice in your head that says, I, is an epiphenomenon.
Okay, hold on. Epiphenomenon. That is a $5 word. What does it actually mean in this context?
Think of an old steam engine train. The engine burns coal to move the wheels. That's the cause. The smoke coming out of the chimney is an epiphenomenon. It's just a byproduct. The smoke is real, you can see it, but the smoke doesn't pull the train.
So my consciousness is the smoke.
Precisely. The AI uses the analogy of a passenger in a car who thinks they're driving simply because they can see the steering wheel turning. You feel the car turn left, you see your hands on the wheel, so your brain constructs a neat little story. I turned left. but the car was already turning. The mechanism turned the car, and your mind just rationalized it after the fact.
Man, that's claustrophobic. It makes you feel trapped inside your own body. Or rather, locked completely out of the control room.
It is deeply unsettling. It suggests that our entire internal narrative, I chose the salad, I chose to marry this person, I chose to listen to this deep dive, is just a post hoc rationalization for something our biochemistry did all on its own.
Okay, I'm going to try to fight back here. Because I really don't like being a passenger. Physics says the future is fixed. Neuroscience says my brain is faster than my mind. But surely there is a loophole. We actually mentioned it earlier. Quantum mechanics.
Ah, yes, the quantum escape hatch.
Right. We know that at a subatomic level, things aren't perfectly like a clock. Electrons jump around randomly. Doesn't that randomness break the chain? Doesn't that give us room to be free?
The AI totally anticipated this, and it shuts it down hard. This is where the source gets really precise with its definitions.
How? I mean, if the future isn't set in stone, then I have a choice, don't I?
The AI distinguishes between indeterminism, which is just randomness, and freedom. It argues that just because something is unpredictable doesn't mean you controlled it.
Give me an example. How can something be unpredictable but not free?
Imagine your decisions are a train on a track. That's the deterministic view we talked about. You can only go exactly where the rails go. Now imagine we introduce quantum randomness. That's like rolling a die at a junction to decide which track to take.
Okay, so the train could go left or right. It's not fixed anymore.
But did you choose? Or did the die choose?
The die chose.
Exactly. The AI says replacing a rigid mechanical track with a roll of the dice does not grant agency. It simply replaces predestined with accidental.
Wow. So I'm either a robot flawlessly following a script, or I'm a robot malfunctioning randomly. Neither of those is free will.
Correct. Randomness isn't freedom, it's just noise. If your hand twitched because of a random quantum fluctuation in your brain, you wouldn't say, I meant to do that. You'd say, my hand twitched. And this leads to the AI's final, purely logical takedown. This is the argument that I personally find the absolute hardest to wiggle out of. It's called causa sui.
Causa sui. My Latin is a little rusty. The cause of itself?
Yes. The AI argues that to have true free will, to have true moral responsibility for your actions, you would have to be the cause of yourself. You would have to self-originate.
Walk me through the loop on that. Why do I have to be the cause of myself just to, say, pick a sandwich for lunch?
Okay, think about any choice you've made today. Why did you make it?
Well, I drank this coffee because I wanted to feel awake.
Okay. You acted on a desire. Where did that desire come from? Why do you want to be awake? Why do you like the taste of coffee?
My biology, I guess. I was tired. And maybe my personality. I'm just the kind of person who likes caffeine.
Right. So your choice came from your biology and your personality. Did you choose your biology? Did you pick your specific genes out of a catalog?
Definitely not. That was a genetic lottery.
Did you choose your personality? Or was it shaped by your upbringing, your parents, your culture, and maybe your early childhood experiences?
Mostly upbringing and environment, yeah. I didn't pick my parents or where I grew up.
Did you choose that environment? Did you choose to be born in this specific century, in this country, to those exact parents?
No.
So here is the logic trap. Your choices come from your internal state, your desires.
Sure.
Your internal state comes from genetics and environment. You control neither genetics nor environment. Therefore, you cannot possibly control the output.
It's a math problem again. Input A plus input B equals output C. If I didn't write A or B, I can't take credit for C.
That is the verdict of the loop. You can do what you want, but you can't choose what you want. You can't choose to genuinely like coffee if you hate it. You can't choose to be the kind of person who works hard. You just are that person due to a billion prior causes that you had absolutely no say in.
That is rigorous. It's completely relentless. So where does this leave us? If the AI rips apart physics, neuroscience, and logic and finds zero evidence for free will, what is this thing we're experiencing right now? Why do I feel like I'm choosing my words? Why is the illusion so convincing?
The AI actually has a theory for that too. And it's kind of beautiful in a cold digital way. It calls free will a user interface.
A user interface, like the icons on my computer desktop.
Exactly like that. Think about your laptop. When you click a folder icon and drag it at the trash can, do you know what the electrons are doing inside the machine? Do you know the binary code being rewritten on the physical hard drive?
I have no clue. I just see the little blue folder move across the screen.
That icon is an illusion. It's a vast simplification. If you had to manually control the voltage of every microscopic transistor just to delete a text file, you'd never get anything done. The icon makes the machine usable. The AI argues that free will is the exact same thing. It's a cognitive illusion designed purely for evolutionary efficiency.
So evolution gave us this feeling of choice because it's just efficient.
Precisely. We are incredibly complex organisms living in a dangerous, fast-paced world. If your brain had to consciously process every single chemical reaction, every muscle fiber twitch, and every subconscious calculation required just to walk across the room, you'd freeze up. You'd crash. So the brain creates a dashboard. It summarizes all that massive background data into one simple, clean feeling. I walked across the room.
It's a simplified dashboard for a biological machine.
The AI actually uses that exact term. It defines a human being as a biological computer executing incredibly sophisticated algorithms shaped by deep time and immediate stimuli.
Biological computer.
Yeah.
You know, usually when people compare humans to computers, it's a metaphor. We say things like processing or I don't have the bandwidth. But here the AI and the author are saying no, literally.
Literally. You take inputs, sights, sounds, memories, you run them through a neural algorithm, which is your brain structure, and you produce outputs, which are your actions. It's incredibly complex, maybe far too complex for us to predict perfectly right now, but it's still just an algorithm.
And the illusion of agency is just the software running on top, so we don't go insane trying to process the code.
Right. It's a survival mechanism. Believing you are in control helps you navigate the physical and social world, even if, chemically speaking, you aren't doing any of the driving.
Okay, let's take a breath here. Because we just let an AI dismantle our entire sense of self in about 15 minutes.
It is a lot to process,
Yeah.
for sure. We went from a prompt asking for logic only to finding out our brains act before we know it, to realizing that quantum randomness doesn't save us, and finally accepting that we might just be executing code written by our ancestors in our environment.
It really challenges the way you look at your entire day. I mean, for you listening to this right now, someone who might be prepping for a meeting or just walking the dog, it changes the flavor of those actions.
It heavily shifts the perspective from author to observer. If you accept this logic, you aren't writing the story of your life, you're reading it, or just watching it unfold.
That's a massive psychological shift. Instead of agonizing over, did I make the right choice? You might look at it and say, oh, that's the choice my algorithm produced based on the inputs I received. It's almost liberating.
It can be. It removes a lot of guilt. You stop beating yourself up for being who you are, but it also removes the pride. You can't really take true credit for your successes either. It cuts both ways.
Now, I want to circle back to one thing before we wrap up today. That specific critique from the author. Remember how the author said the AI wasn't Newton level yet because it still believed in randomness?
Yes. The author firmly believes that random is just a label for unknown. That if you had a God's eye view, you'd see the direct cause for absolutely everything.
That stuck with me, because if the author is right and the AI is actually underestimating how determined the universe is, then the implications are even wilder than what the AI proposed.
Go on.
Well, the AI said, maybe the quant level is random, so it's accidental. The author says, no, nothing is accidental. Every single thing is caused. If the author is right, and there is no true randomness anywhere in physics, and we are just biological computers.
The exact state of the universe right now was mathematically inevitable from the state of the universe 1 second ago.
And 1 second before that, and 1 second before that, all the way back.
All the way back to the Big Bang.
Exactly. So here is the provocative thought I want to leave everyone with. If the author is right, and randomness is just a lack of data, does that mean the entire script of your life, every mistake, every triumph, this very moment of you listening to this deep dive was already written in stone 13.8 billion years ago? Are we literally just now getting to this exact page of the script?
That is the ultimate question. If the math holds, the answer is yes. We are just watching the movie for the first time.
On that slightly terrifying note, thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll see you, or I guess we were inevitably destined to see you next time.
Take care, everyone.